Hello everyone, today I am testing out internet famous mini wooden travel palette, most loved by many artists around the world. So let's get started. Fuumuui Art sent me their newly product mini walnut watercolor wooden palette, also known as mini walnut watercolor paint box, that's specially made for watercolor artists. As you can see, this mini walnut watercolor paint box comes in a plastic cover and simple cardboard packaging with a clip. Now you must be thinking that this palette is studio or portable. Well, it goes without saying that this palette is portable and specially designed for urban sketching and watercolor artists. What is interesting about this mini palette is that it is compact type, and because the wood is light in its weight and has an embedded magnet so that you can close it like this, and there is slot to put this clip that need for putting it onto the paper or any type of sketchbook for all that surface that you need for painting. Also, the small pans can be easily removed when you want to fill the pan with new fresh paint or when you want to clean it. This palette designed for portability may not offer enough sufficiently sized pans or mixing space for daily use, but nowadays many artists love to do mini artwork and ink and wash which require only small amount of paint. So it's possible to use this mini palette for this all work in studio, but it also need care since this palette are wooden and need to be treated with wood wax oil time to time. So this will be great travel palette for who enjoy daily urban sketching or plein air painting. I don't think this palette would be a great choice for painting on large paper like A3 or A2, but I think it would be a great choice for A6 to A5 and A4 size sketchbook or paper. You can only clip it to one side while painting. If you are going to paint on one side, you can clip the paint box to the other side of the sketchbook in this way. But of course, you should start by making sure that you clip the paper very carefully to protect it, because watercolor paper is thick and can be damaged. Moreover, paper clip can skew the paper in place or bend it. This paint box or mini palette can be a great choice for A4 size sketchbook or ink and wash or minute sketching. This mini paint box is not airtight. Colors like similar watercolors, which are honey-based paint, are prone to mold in any environment and are not good for wooden palettes. So I am using these Booster Artist watercolors, which are not honey-based colors. Instead of filling so many colors that I really don't need for painting, I am just going to choose 15 shades which I need for painting. This Fuumuui mini paint box is easy to carry and easy to organize. It has tiny pan, so it keeps your palette filled with new and fresh watercolor to enjoy plein air watercolor season. You are going to with a good preparation of plein air painting. With this mini paint box, can be possible to paint in messy weather like windy and rainy day, because these mini paint box are super easy to carry and easy to handle in one hand or just clipping with sketchbook, rather than using metal watercolor half band set, which is bit uneasy to use for this kind of weather. So I think this paint box will be great set to do plein air painting for or urban sketching during this time. Watercolor can be rewetted easily after they dry, and I just noticed that this tiny pan are deep and also size is bit bigger than other mini palette I saw on online shopping site. This deep pan are filled enough paint to help paint on large A4 size paper. Moreover, it is easily possible to do more than one painting, but I am impressed with this little pan that feels more paint than other mini wooden palettes. Also, this palette is very comfortable and light in weight. Alright, I am done with pouring colors in all tiny pans and it looks so beautiful. Let's see if this color spread or stick when the palette is closed. Look like it does not spread or stick to the area of this wooden palette, which is for mixing colors, but you have to be very careful too. I think it's better we should let it dry for some minutes. So when you are traveling with this palette, then this watercolor will not spread in palette. When I poured all color and closed the palette with plastic cover that come with this palette, and then next day I opened and saw that all colors were still fresh. But honestly, will not be stay fresh for more than 2 or 3 days because this palette is portable but not airtight. So keep this in mind. Alright, let's test out mixing try. We are seeing that when I tried to mix paint, it started building up. It's because of that oil used during making this palette. But when you use toothpaste for first wash, it will stop building up. From my experience, I know that I have used many plastic palettes, but they stopped building up on their own with daily use. Also, this tiny mixing tray are easy to clean, but you have to be extra careful when you are mixing bit more water with color. It will not touch more to wood. By keeping this in mind, so this palette will last long. Alright, let's see more performance of this Fuumuui mini walnut watercolor paint box. I am using this fanful cold fresh watercolor book for still life botanical painting. I am drawing a mushroom and drawing some autumn leaves. I am using these Fuumuui kolinsky sable round brushes. If you need to know about these brushes, then I have already made a review video. When you are using thick paper like cold press 300 GSM, it will not be possible to hold all page by clipping. So I am clipping to only 2 pages, but I am sure it won't be any problem since this wooden box is light in weight. When it's come to color mixing, always remember not to damage or harm your brush tip, and brush tip will not go deep in tiny pan to pick up color. One important thing I will suggest you that whenever you choosing a palette, pay attention to how your brush enters the pans. Even some medium size and bigger size have pans, force your brush to enter the wheel at a sharp angle. It will damage your expensive brushes easily. So make sure whatever palette you are buying, it is designed to protect your brushes. When artists do urban sketching or plein air painting, they don't get enough time to add interesting detail or texture. You have to use glazing technique or very light layering to finish your artwork. Here I am doing wet on wet. Then for minute detail, I am using wet on dry technique. But mostly I am going to use wet on wet to finish this artwork quickly. Even I am doing this painting on my studio, but I am keeping this in my mind that I am giving a review for travel palette, and that's why I have to finish this painting very quickly. We are seeing that it is possible to make 4 or more mixing color in mixing tray, but make sure you have well know about color mixing theory so you won't end up that mixing that one color which will overpower your color which is already on mixing tray. In case you can use tissue paper or a clean rag to clean mixing tray quickly to make new colors, so you will not face any problem. About halfway through the painting, I looked at the mixing tray and noticed that slowly and steadily the color has stopped fading and the colors were mixing very smoothly. But honestly, it has not stopped completely, but I think it will stop after I wash it and when I use this paint box for more painting. I really impressed with this paint box and this high quality lightweight wood are absolutely great which will not break easily. But especially I am impressed with this all teeny pans because I am about to finish this painting and all pans are still full with colors and it's proof that this paint box can be used in your long travel time. But make sure you choose to file mold free watercolors so this paint box will make your field trip more enjoyable. Thank you for watching.